Afternoon, everyone. I'm Al Rogers. I'm the Deputy Superintendent for the County Office of Education, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 13th Annual Sacramento County Poetry Out Loud Competition. Our student presenters have invested a lot of time and energy in getting ready for this event. Prepare to be captivated and prepare to be moved. I want to also, before we get too deep into the events today, I want to make sure that we thank the Rosemont High School staff and the Sacramento City Unified School District for hosting this wonderful event. This is really one of the most rewarding programs you'll ever find. I actually really get to enjoy this. I don't have the talent that these young people have, but I really appreciate what they do. And I also really want to make sure that we do thank our young people today. They've put in so much work and energy and creativity in this, and it'll be a standout experience. Also, I see here that we are fortunate to have board member Jackie Levy, a strong supporter of this program, and if we could, let's acknowledge her for putting this event. Poetry Out Loud is one of those outstanding programs that highlights the value of arts and education in our schools. Poetry helps teachers teach their students how to be better readers, better writers, and how to better understand any text. There's a lot of evidence to support the fact that arts education, and poetry specifically, provides learners with greater self-esteem, with more motivation, enhanced emotional expression, and an appreciation of diversity. Italian novelist Umberto Eco once said, "Poetry is not a matter of feelings, it is a matter of language. It is language which creates feelings." And so today, we get to enjoy many talented young people's work that will create feelings and emotions for us with the words that they will share. It's now my pleasure to introduce our Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Tim Herrera. Tim is the Communications Director of the Sacramento County Office of Education. Prior to joining SCOE, he served as Communications Director for several state of California agencies. Prior to working in communications, Tim spent more than 20 years in television, radio, and newspaper, most recently as a reporter for KCRA-TV right here in Sacramento. Tim is also an adjunct professor for Penn State World Campus and the author of several books on public speaking and communications. Please join me as we give a warm welcome to Mr. Tim Herrera.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rogers. I appreciate that. But anyway, it's a pleasure to be here. This is one of our most favorite programs because it's an opportunity for the students to really represent their schools in a way that you don't see kids doing often. We see a lot of players on the field and on the court, but it's really nice to see students really investing the time to represent their school for something positive like this in education. So the National Endowment for the Arts and the Poetry Foundation have partnered with the U.S. state arts agencies to support Poetry Out Loud. It's a contest that encourages the nation's youth to learn about great poetry through memorization and recitation. Poetry Out Loud uses a pyramid structure that starts at the classroom level. Winners advance to a school-wide competition, then to a regional or state competition, and ultimately to the national finals. Hopefully we have a national finalist here with us today. Today we will select our county representative to go to the state, but before we move forward, we would like to introduce our judges who are so gracious with their time today. First, my friend Dr. Steve Winlock serves as Executive Director for the Sacramento County Office of Education Leadership Institute. Wait, there's more about Steve. He's also a TV personality, a theater performer, and an educational motivator. Thank you for being here, Steve. Not to be confused with our other Steve, we have Mr. Steve Caruso. He has a bachelor's degree in English literature and has spent the last 12 years managing and raising funds for local nonprofits that primarily serve the poor and the homeless. Steve, thank you for being here. We're also fortunate to have Dennis Mangers. He is a strategic advisor to Sacramento Mayor Darrell Steinberg. Mr. Mangers works directly with the mayor in assisting with the mayor's arts initiatives that directly affect the enhancement of the art and culture of Sacramento. Thank you, Mr. Mangers, for being here today. And finally, Jonathan Gluss is the Director of Cultural and Creative Economy for the City of Sacramento. He also guides the work of the Sacramento Metropolitan Arts Commission, which supports public art and the art culture in the City of Sacramento. Thank you for being here today. I also want to introduce some members of the SCOE team who are here today playing an important part in the program. First, we have Kristen Coyle, who is our accuracy judge. Thank you, Kristen. Cheryl Roberts, our prompter. Kelly Finley is our scorekeeper. Karen Briserdo is our scorekeeper prompter. Ashley Hathaway, reception. And our coordinators are Sherry Arnold and Tricia Oden. We also want to welcome all of our student school winners and our runners-up today. Can we applaud them now before we even start? And we would like to publicly recognize our poet, Joanne Anglin. Stand to be recognized if you're here. Thank you so much. She has a big job. She visits the schools to help students prepare for the Poetry Out Loud competition. And she will also work with the county's winner to help them prepare for the state competition. So thank you in advance for that. So of course, we can't have an event without ground rules and housekeeping. There will be 2 rounds for students to recite their poems. In round 1, the school winners will recite their first selected poem in ABC order according to their first names. There will be a short tally break for the judges to mull over their decisions, the scorekeeper to tally scores, and during this time, we'll have refreshments out in the lobby. In round 2, students will recite their poems in ABC order by their last names. After the 2 rounds are complete, the tabulator and scorekeeper will tally the final scores. If there is a tie score, the student with the highest overall performance score will win. If there's a tie, that is the highest accuracy score will count. If scores remain tied, each of the 2 finalists will choose one of their poems to recite again for a separate score to break the tie, and we've had that happen before. With the final tabulation, we will announce the Sacramento County Poetry Out Loud runner-up and winner who will move forward to represent the county in the state competition in March. So, are you done hearing from me? Would you like to hear from some students? We are so happy to announce our first presenter, Brandy Riziki from Sacramento Country Day. Fun facts, her favorite poet is Maya Angelou, and one of her hobbies is dancing and also writing stories.
In Praise of My Bed by Meredith Holmes. At last, I can be with you. The grinding hours since I left your side, the labor of being fully human, working my opposable thumb, talking and walking upright. Now, I have unclasped, unzipped, stepped out of. Husked, soft, a beater only. I do nothing but point my bare feet into your clean smoothness. Feel your quiet strength the whole length of my body. I close my eyes, hear myself moan. So grateful to be held this way.
All right, let's welcome our next reciter, Haley Clark from Del Campo High School. Her hobby is that she is part of the Del Campo Ukulele Club, where they perform out of school and at retirement homes.
Love Letters by Diane Thiel. My mother wanted to learn some German for my father, and because her children could already speak it a little. She was tired of dusting the stacks of books she couldn't read, tired of the letters she always had to ask him to translate. He was usually willing to translate the cards his mother had written in German. But sometimes there were other letters. And when he read them to her and the children, she had the same feeling she'd had with the books before she learned to read when she was little. She said it bothered her a little that her own children would have to translate for her, that they could pick up the same books that were as Greek to her as they were German. She started learning it from the children and decided to leave my father letters. She wrote my father daily love letters and carefully placed them on a little table where they put things for the children, next to our favorite set of translations of fairy tales we first heard in German. She leaned one every day against his books, the white paper stark beside the dark books. But my father never answered her letters. Instead, he returned them with his German corrections in the margin, his little red marks, hieroglyphs for her to translate, as if she were one of the children. Maybe she was just one of the children in that house, surrounded by rows of books. Maybe her whole life was a translation of what she imagined in the letters. The space between them made her that little girl, wandering, lost inside the German. Because her own children were half German, she built her life around those little books, translating the lines of her own letters. Thank you.
We would like to introduce our next reciter. Jessica Nunez is from John F. Kennedy High School. And after graduation, she would like to attend Monterey University and earn a degree in counseling.
Absidarian requiring further examination of Anglican seraphim subjugation of a wild Indian reservation by Natalie Diaz. Angels don't come to the reservation. Bats maybe, or owls, boxy mottled things. Coyotes too. They all mean the same thing, death. And death eats angels, I guess, because I haven't seen an angel fly through this valley ever. Gabriel? Never heard of him. Know a guy named Gabe, though. He came through here one powwow and stayed. Typical Indian. Sure, he had wings, jailbird that he was. He flies around in stolen cars. Wherever he stops, kids grow like gourds from women's bellies. Like I said, no Indian I've ever heard of has ever been or seen an angel. Maybe in a Christmas pageant or something. Nazarene Church holds one every December, organized by Pastor John's wife. It's no wonder Pastor John's son is the angel. Everyone knows angels are white. Quit bothering with angels, I say. They're no good for Indians. Remember what happened last time some white god came floating across the ocean? Truth is, there may be angels. But if there are angels up there, living on clouds, sitting on thrones across the sea, dressed in velvet robes and golden rings, we're better off if they stay rich and fat and ugly exactly where they are in their own distant heavens. You better hope that you never see angels on the res. If you do, they'll be marching you off to Zion or Oklahoma or some other hell they've mapped out for us. Thank you.
Okay, please welcome our next student presenter. Jonathan Salman is from Rio Americano High School. His hobby is music, especially jazz, and he enjoys learning new instruments.
This is Dear Reader by Rita Mae Reese. You have forgotten everything. You have forgotten your name, where you lived, who you loved, why. I am simply your nurse, terse and unlovely. I point to things and remind you what they are. chair, book, daughter, soup. And when we are alone, I tell you what lies in each direction. This way is death. And this way, after a longer walk, is death. And that way is death, but you won't see it until it is right in front of you. Once, after your niece had been to visit you, and I said something about how you must love her, or she must love you, or something useless like that, you gripped my forearm in your terrible swift hand and said, "She is everything." You gave me a shake. Everything to me. And then you fell back into the well, deep in the well of everything. And I stand at the edge and call. Chair, book, daughter, soup. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Please welcome our next student reciter. He is Muake Uluiviti. He is from Luther Burbank High School. His favorite poet is William Shakespeare, and after graduation, he will be joining the Navy.
Thoughtless cruelty. There, Robert, you have killed that fly. And should you 1,000 ages try, the life you've taken to supply, you could not do it. You surely must have been devoid of thought and sense to have destroyed a thing which no way you annoyed. You'll one day rue it. 'Twas but a fly, perhaps you'll say, that's born in April, dies in May, that does but just learn to display his wings 1 minute, and in the next is vanished quiet. A bird devours it in his flight, or come a cold blast in the night. There is no breath in it. The bird but seeks his proper food, and providence which power endued that fly with life when it thinks good may justly take it. But you have no excuses for it, a life by nature made so short. Less reason is that you for sport should shorter make it. A fly, a little thing you rate, but Robert, do not estimate a creature's pain by small or great. The greatest being can have but fiber, nerves, and flesh, and these the smallest ones possess. Although the frame and structure less escape our scene.
Thank you, Maake. Please welcome to the stage our next student presenter, Marley Ross from Capital Christian High School. Marley's favorite poet is Walt Whitman, and after graduation, she would like to study animation.
Please Don't by Tony Hoagland. Please don't tell the flowers. They think the sun loves them. The grass is under the same simple-minded impression about the rain, the fog, the dew. And when the wind blows, it feels so good, they lose control of themselves and swab toggle wildly around, bumping accidentally into their slender neighbors. Forgetful little lotus eaters. Solar-powered hydroholics, drawing nourishment up through stems into their thin green skin, high on the expensive chemistry of mitochondrial explosion, believing that the dirt loves them, the night the stars, reaching down a little deeper with their pale albino roots, all dizzy Gillespie with the utter sufficiency of everything. They don't imagine lawnmowers, the four stomachs of the cow, or human beings with boots who stop to marvel at their exquisite flexibility and color. They persist in their soft-headed hallucination of happiness. But please don't mention it. Not yet. Tell me, what would you possibly gain from being right? Thank you.
I would like to introduce our next student reciter, Noah Nelken from Cornerstone Christian. Noah's favorite poet is John Keats, and his hobbies are puzzles and manual labor.
Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea. But we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee, with the love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud by night, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsmen came and bore her away from me to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. And this was the reason that the wind blew out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who are older than we, of many far wiser than we, and neither the angels in heaven above or the demons down under the sea can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea.
Please welcome to the stage our next presenter, Sage Innerarity from Pleasant Grove High School. Sage enjoys playing softball, and she is a member of the federally recognized Ione Band of Miwok Indians.
The Powwow at the End of the World by Sherman Alexie. I am told by many of you that I must forgive. And so I shall, after an Indian woman puts her shoulder to the Grand Coulee Dam and topples it. I am told by many of you that I must forgive. And so I shall, after the floodwaters burst each successive dam downriver from the Grand Coulee. I am told by many of you that I must forgive. And so I shall, After the floodwaters find their way to the mouth of the Columbia River as it enters the Pacific and causes all of it to rise. I am told by many of you that I must forgive. And so I shall, after the first drop of floodwater is swallowed by that salmon waiting in the Pacific. I am told by many of you that I must forgive. And so I shall, after that salmon swims upstream through the mouth of the Columbia and then past the flooded cities, broken dams, and abandoned reactors of Hanford. I am told by many of you that I must forgive. And so I shall, after that salmon swims through the mouth of the Spokane River as it meets the Columbia, then upstream until it arrives in the shallows of a secret bay on the reservation where I wait alone. I am told by many of you that I must forgive. And so I shall, after that salmon leaps into the night air above the water, throws a lightning bolt at the brush near my feet, and starts the fire which will lead all of the lost Indians home. I am told by many of you that I must forgive. And so I shall, after we Indians have gathered around the fire with that salmon who has 3 stories it must tell before sunrise. One story will teach us how to pray. Another story will make us laugh for hours. The 3rd story will give us reason to dance. I am told by many of you that I must forgive. And so I shall, when I am dancing with my tribe during the powwow at the end of the world. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage now our next student reciter, Sierra Garrett from Natomas Charter. Sierra enjoys acting, singing, dancing, writing, and cooking, all at the same time.
Sweetness by Stephan Dunn. Just when it has seemed I couldn't bear one more friend waking with a tumor, one more maniac with a perfect reason, often a sweetness has come and changed nothing in the world except the way I stumbled through it. For a while lost in the ignorance of loving someone or something, the world shrunk to mouth size, hand size, and never seeming small. I acknowledge there is no sweetness that doesn't leave a stain. No sweetness that's ever sufficiently sweet. Tonight, a friend called to say his lover was killed in a car he was driving. His voice was low and guttural. He repeated what he needed to repeat, and I repeated the 1 or 2 words we have for such grief until we were speaking only in tones. Often, a sweetness comes, as if on loan, stays just long enough to make sense of what it means to be alive, then returns to its dark source. As for me, I don't care where it's been or what bitter road it's traveled to come so far, to taste so good.
Our next student reciter is Sophie Getahoun from Inderkum High School. After graduation, Sophie would like to attend a top university, then go to Harvard Law School, and one day become a U.S. Senator. Way to set the bar high.
My name is Sophie Getahoun, and I'll be reciting Father by Edgar Albert Guest. My father knows the proper way the nation should be run. He tells us children every day, this should now be done. He knows a way to fix the trust. He has a simple plan. But if the furnace needs repairs, we have to hire a man. My father in a day or two can land big thieves in jail. There's nothing he cannot do. He knows no word like fail. Our confidence he would restore. Of that, there is no doubt. But if there's a chair to mend, we have to send it out. All public questions that arise, he settles on the spot. He waits not till the tumbler dies, but grabs it while it's hot. In matters of finance, he can tell Congress what to do, but he finds it hard to meet his bills as they fall due. It almost makes him sick to read the things lawmakers say. Why father's just a man they need. He never goes astray. All wars he'd very quickly end as fast as I can write it. But when a neighbor starts a fuss, his mother has to fight it. In conversation, father can do many wondrous things. He's built upon a wiser plan than presidents or kings. He knows the ins and outs for each and every deep transaction. We look to him for theories, but look to Ma for action. Thank you.
Our next reciter is Stephan Andre Pilapil from Elk Grove High School. His hobby is photography, and he is also a mathlete.
I'll be reciting April Love by Ernest Dowson. We have walked in love's land a little way. We have learnt his lesson a little while. And shall we not part at the end of day with a sigh, a smile? A little while in the shine of the sun, we were twined together, joined lips, forgot how the shadows fall when the day is done and when love is not. We have made no vows, there will none be broke. Our love was free as the wind on the hill. There was no word said, we need wish unspoke. We have wrought no ill. So shall we not part at the end of day, who have loved and lingered a little while? Join lips for the last time, go our way, the sigh, the smile.
Please welcome our next reciter, Sydney Brahmbhatt-Hazewood from Sacramento Academic and Vocational Academy. Sydney's favorite poet is Langston Hughes, and she loves science.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well. I will be performing Shall Earth No More Inspire Thee by Emily Bront. Shall earth no more inspire thee, thou lonely dreamer now? Since passion may not fire thee, shall nature cease to bow? Thy mind is ever moving in regions dark to thee. Recall its useless roving, come back and dwell with me. I know my mountain breezes enchant and soothe thee still. I know my sunshine pleases despite thy wayward will. When day with evening blending sinks from the summer sky, I've seen thy spirit bending in fond idolatry. I've watched thee every hour. I know my mighty sway. I know my magic power to drive thy griefs away. Few hearts to mortals given, on earth so wildly pine. Yet none would ask a heaven more like this earth than thine. Then let my wind caress thee, thy comrade let me be. Recall its useless roving, return and dwell with me. Thank you.
And now our next presenter is Tayler Bradley from Heritage Peak Charter. Tayler loves Robert Frost and singing.
Freeze by Alan R. Shapiro. Over an edge of cloud, the naked angel blasts his long horn downward, and they rise. Or try to. Skeletons, half-skeletons, the still-fleshed bodies of the newly dead rising, and pushing up the stone lids, heaving the crypt doors open, clamoring over one another. Dumbstruck, frightened, warily peeking out from inside tombs or out of ditches, their eye holes blacker than a black they peek from, while some reach out of habit for a robe to hide a nakedness they have no longer. A phantom shame that must be all the bones remember of a living flesh they were, and all of them worn away to nearly nothing. More wisp of form than form, more wraith than wisp, as if before your eyes they're sinking into what they're rising out of, coming into view by fading from it, there and gone, as if the very stone, unsure of what it holds, can neither cling to nor relinquish now the dream of something in it, more than stone, other than hard or heavy, as over the face of it, the air of a wished-for morning ripples the robes to water, while it washes through the skulls and half-skulls, tilted back to sea, just what the noise is that won't let them sleep. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tayler. And that was the end of round one. What did you think? Excellent job, students. Excellent job. Well, welcome back to the second act of Poetry Out Loud. In this, it's okay to applaud for yourselves. Go ahead. Now, in this second round, we will students will recite in ABC order, going by their last names. So, if everyone is ready, I would like to bring to the stage Tayler Bradley from Heritage Peak Charter. After graduation, Tayler would like to be a teacher.
Barter by Sarah Teasdale. Life has loveliness to sell, all beautiful and splendid things. Blue waves whitened on a cliff, soaring fire that sways and sings, and children's faces looking up, holding wonder like a cup. Life has loveliness to sell, music like a curve of gold, scent of pine trees in the rain, eyes that love you, arms that hold, and for your spirits still delight, holy thoughts that star the night. Spend all you have for loveliness, buy it and never count the cost. For one white sinking hour of peace, count many a year of strife well lost. And for a breath of ecstasy, give all you have been or could be. Thank you.
Please welcome our next reciter, Sydney Brahmbhatt-Hazewood from Sacramento Academic and Vocational Academy. After graduation, Sydney would like to become a behavior analyst or marine biologist.
This is Cage Bird by Maya Angelou. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream to the current ends and dips his wing in orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on a distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn-bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, where the caged bird sings of freedom. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage Haley Clark from Del Campo High School. Haley plans to go to Sonoma State University to study psychology.
Friendship After Love by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. After the fierce midsummer, all ablaze, has burned itself to ashes and expires in the intensity of its own fires, there come the mellow, mild St. Martin days, crowned with a calm of peace, but sad with haze. So after love has let us till he tires of his own throes and torments and desires, comes large-eyed friendship with a restful gaze. He beckons us to follow, and across cool, verdant vales we wander free from care. Is it a touch of frost lies in the air? Why are we haunted with a sense of loss? We do not wish the pain back or the heat, and yet these days are incomplete. Thank you.
Our next presenter is Sierra Garrett from the Natomas Charter. Interesting fact about Sierra, she has been a Girl Scout for 8 years, and good news, cookies are still on sale.
Sanctuary by Jean Valentine. People pray to each other the way I say you to someone else. Respectfully, intimately, desperately. The way someone says you to me. Hopefully, expectantly, intensely. Ab Asterius. You, who I don't know how to talk to you. What is it like for you there? Here, well, wanting solitude and talk friendship. The uses of solitude? To imagine, to hear, learning Braille, to imagine other solitudes. But they will not be mine to wait in the quiet, not to scatter the voices. What are you afraid of? What will happen? All this leaving and meetings, yes, but death. What happens when you die? Not scatter the voices, drown out. Not make a house out of my own words. To be quiet in another throat, other eyes. Listen for what it is like there. What word? What silence? Allowing, uncertain, to drift in the restlessness repose, to run like water. What is it like there right now? Listen. The crowding of the street, the room. Everyone hunches in against the crowding, holding their breath against dread. What do you dread? What happens when you die? What do you dread in this room now? Not watching, now safe inside my own skin, to die, not having listened, not having asked, to have scattered life. Yes, I know. The thread you have to keep finding over again to follow back to life, I know. Impossible sometimes.
Please welcome our next presenter, Sophie Getahoun from Inderkum High School. Interesting fact about Sophie, she started her own nonprofit at 16 called Neighborhoods to Nations, with the goal of creating educational opportunities locally and internationally.
My name is Sophie Getahoun, and I'll be reciting Youth by James Wright. Strange bird, his song remains secret. He worked too hard to read books. He never heard how Sherwood Anderson got out of it and fled to Chicago, furious to free himself from his hatred of factories. My father toiled 50 years at Hazel Atlas Glass, caught amongst the greeters that smashed the kneecaps of dumb honk yaks. Did he shudder with hatred in the cold shadow of Greece? Maybe. But my brother and I do know he came home, as quiet as the evening. He'll be getting dark soon and loom through the new snow. I know his ghost will drift home to the Ohio River and sit down, alone, whittling a root. He will say nothing. The waters grow past, older, younger, than he is or I am. Thank you.
Our next student reciter is Sage Innerarity from Pleasant Grove High School. Sage's favorite poet is Sherman Alexie, and after graduation, she plans on majoring in biology at Amherst College.
Friendship After Love by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. After the fierce midsummer all ablaze has burned itself to ashes and expires in the intensity of its own fires, there come the mellow, mild St. Martin days, crowned with the calm of peace, but sad with haze. So, after love has led us, till he tires of his own throes and torments and desires, comes large-eyed friendship. With a restful gaze, he beckons us to follow, and across cool, verdant vales we wander free from care. Is it a touch of frost lies in the air? Why are we haunted with a sense of loss? We do not wish the pain back, nor the heat. And yet these days are incomplete. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage Noah Nelken from Cornerstone Christian. Noah wants everyone to know that his favorite season is winter.
Let It Be Forgotten by Sarah Teasdale. Let it be forgotten as a flower is forgotten. forgotten as a fire that once was singing gold. Let it be forgotten forever and ever. Time is a kind friend. He will make us old. If anyone asks, say it was forgotten, as a flower is forgotten, as a fire is forgotten, or a hushed footfall in a long, forgotten snow.
Let's welcome our next student presenter, Jessica Nunez from John F. Kennedy High School. Jessica enjoys acting and stage production and working on her own music.
Life Cycle of Common Man by Howard Numerov. Roughly figured, this man of moderate habits, this average consumer of the middle class, consumed in the course of his average lifespan just under 500,000 cigarettes, 4,000 fifths of gin, and about a quarter as much vermouth. He drank maybe 100,000 cups of coffee, and counting, his parents' share it cost something like $500,000 to put him through life. How many beasts died to provide him with meat, belt, and shoes cannot be certainly said. But anyhow, it is in this way that a man travels through time, leaving behind him a lengthening trail of empty bottles and bones, of broken shoes, frayed collars, and worn out or outgrown diapers and dinner jackets, silk ties and slickers. Given the energy and security thus achieved, he did what? The usual things, of course, the eating, dreaming, drinking, and begetting. And he worked for the money, which was to pay for the eating, etc., which were necessary if you were to go on working for the money, etc., but chiefly he talked. As the bottles and bones accumulated behind him, the words proceeded steadily out of the front of his face as he advanced into the silence and made it verbal. Who can tally the tale of his words? A lifetime would barely suffice for their repetition. If you merely printed all his commas, the result would be a very large volume, and the number of times he said thank you or very little sugar please would stagger the imagination. There were also witticisms, platitudes, and statements beginning, it seems to me, or as I always say, consider the courage in all that. And behold, the man walking into deep silence with the ectoplastic cartoon's balloon proceeding steadily out of the front of his face, his words borne along on the breath, which is his spirit, telling the numberless tale of his untold word, which makes the world his apple and forces him to eat. Thank you.
Please welcome our next presenter to the stage, Stephan Andre Pilapil from Elk Grove High School. He is a member of the Students for Change Club and the Women's Activist Club.
I will be reciting To Have Without Holding by Marge Piercy. Learning to love differently is hard. Love with hands wide open, love with the doors banging on their hinges, the cupboard unlocked, the wind roaring and whimpering in the rooms, rustling the sheets and snapping the blinds that thwack like rubber bands in an open palm. It hurts to love wide open, stretching the muscles that feel as if they are made of wet plaster, then of blunt knives, then of sharp knives. It hurts to thwart the reflexes of grab, of clutch, to love and let go again and again. It pesters to remember the lover who is not in the bed, to hold back what is owed to the work that gutters like a candle in a cave without air. To love consciously, conscientiously, concretely, constructively. I can't do it. You say it's killing me, but you thrive. You glow on the street like a neon raspberry. You float and sail. A helium balloon, bright bachelor's button blue, and bobbing on the cold and hot winds of our breath. As we make and unmake, in passionate diastole and systole, the rhythm of our unbound bonding. To have and not to hold, to love with minimized malice, hunger and anger, moment by moment, balanced.
Please welcome our next student presenter, Brandy Riziki from Sacramento Country Day School. An interesting fact that Brandy would like you to know about her is that she is a Sunday school teacher, a missionary, and soon to be a junior pastor.
Give All to Love by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Give all to love. Obey thy heart. Friends, kindred, days, estate, good fame, plans, credit, and the muse, nothing refuse. It is a brave master. Let it have scope. Follow it utterly, hope beyond hope. High and more high, it dives into noon with wing unspent, untold intent. But it is a god, knows its own path and the outlets of the sky. It was never for the mean. It requireth courage stout, souls above doubt, valor unbending. It will reward. They shall return more than they were, and ever ascending. Leave all for love, yet, hear me, yet. One word more thy heart behoved, one pulse more of firm endeavor. Keep thee today, tomorrow, forever, free as an Arab of thy beloved. Cling with life to the maid. But when the surprise, first vague shadow of surmise flits across her bosom young of a joy apart from thee, free be she, fancy free, nor thou detain her vesture's hem, nor the palest rose she flung from her summer diadem. Though thou loved her as thyself, as a self of purer clay, though her parting dims the day, stealing grace from all alive, heartily know, when half gods go, the gods arrive. Thank you.
Our next reciter is Marley Ross from Capital Christian High School. And a surprising thing she wants you to know about her is that she can tap dance.
I Sit and Sew by Alice Moore Dunbar Nelson. I sit and sew. A useless task, it seems. My hands grown tired, my head weighed down with dreams. The panoply of war, the martial tread of men, grim-faced, stern-eyed, gazing beyond the ken of lesser souls whose eyes have not seen death, nor learned to hold their lives but as a breath. But I must sit and sew. I sit and sew. My heart aches with desire, that pageant terrible, that fiercely pouring fire on wasted fields and writhing grotesque things. Whence men? My soul in pity flings appealing cries, yearning only to go. There in that holocaust of hell, those fields of woe. But I must sit and sew. The little useless seam, the idle patch, why dream I here beneath my homely thatch, when there they lie, in sodden mud and rain, pitifully calling me, the quick ones and the slain. You need me, Christ. It is no roseate dream that beckons me, this pretty futile seam. It stifles me. God, must I sit and sew? Thank you.
And now our final presenter for round 2, Maaki Uluiviti from Burbank High School. He wants you to know that in addition to acting and singing, he likes sports, and his rugby team is ranked 5th in the nation.
Constantly Risking Absurdity by Lawrence Ferlinghetti. Constantly risking absurdity and death. Whenever he performs above the heads of his audience, the poet, like an acrobat, climbs on rhyme to a high wire of his own making, and balancing on I-beams above a sea of faces, paces his way to the other side of day. Performing Anshashaw and sleight of foot tricks and other high theatrics, and all without mistaking anything for what it may not be. For he is the super realist who must perforce perceive taught truth before the taking of each stance or step in his supposed advance toward that still higher perch, where beauty stands and waits with gravity to start a death-defying leap. And he, a little Charlie Chaplin man, who may or may not catch her fair, eternal form spread-eagled in the beautiful air of existence. Thank you.
Let's hear it for all of our reciters today. Very exciting and very courageous. It's not easy to come up here and do what they did today. The Sacramento County Office of Education would like to thank all of the school coaches for their time and effort and enthusiasm that they have devoted to the Poetry Out Loud program, and for encouraging all students to learn more about great classic literature. We also would like to acknowledge the many students who participated at their school sites in the Poetry Out Loud competition process. All are winners in gaining a broader appreciation of poetry, developing public speaking skills, and increasing their sense of self-esteem through a powerful and meaningful learning experience. And again, we thank all of the participants for their dedication and sharing their talents with us today, and we want to thank their parents and families for supporting them as well. So before we announce our runner-up and our winner, again, I want to thank our judges for their time. Thank you very much. If you've ever had to sit where they sit, believe me, this is hard because you all did so well, and they're parents. So it's hard to see a kid come up here and work so hard. So congratulations to you all. We would like all of our participants who participated today come up on stage. For our presentation, we would like to welcome Dr. Steve Winlock from our School of Education and Jackie Levy from the Sacramento County Board of Education, who will help present the runner-up and the winner. Now we would like to announce the runner-up. Please congratulate from Inderkum High School, Sophie Getahoun. Congratulations. And now the 2018 Sacramento County Poetry Out Loud winner is Sage Innerarity from Pleasant Grove High School. Congratulations, Sage.
Today I performed The Powwow at the End of the World by Sherman Alexie and Friendship After Love by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Powwow at the End of the World was kind of a no-brainer for me. Sherman Alexie is one of my favorite authors, and I'm a member of the Island Band of Newark Indians, so that poem really resonated with me.
I am told by many of you that I must forgive. And so I shall, after an Indian woman puts her shoulder to the Grand Coulee Dam and topples it.
And then Friendship After Love, I wanted to pick a poem that kind of showcased a different side, not as dark or heavy.
So, after love has led us, till he tires of his own throes and torments and desires, comes large-eyed friendship.
I absolutely love performing. It's really cool to be able to transform yourself into a different person and take on the mindset of somebody else and evoke those emotions in other people too. I'm just really grateful to have been able to participate and to meet so many of the other poets here because they're all amazing. And it was really cool to kind of meet some kindred spirits. Thank you.